Hold up, little buddy, what is you doing? Finna go hard, hard, hard. Ice on my neck, ice on my wrist. That for the squad, squad, squad. Know they gon' hate, do what I tell them. Get on your jaw, jaw, jaw. Work on smooth, I got the moves. I swear to God, God, God. Hey, I just dropped 200 on a new wave. Pull up with that boop boop in my boot thing. Pull up, got the party bouncing like the blue.
What is going on, faithful? It is your boy Niner Sickness with the Niner Sickness podcast. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the show. We have a wonderful guest tonight. Tonight's show. Before we get started, make sure to please wipe your feet before entering and smash that like button for your boy Niner Sickness. How's everybody doing this evening on this Tuesday evening? Welcome to the show. Tony Smith is in the house. Welcome, Tony Smith. Good to see you, my friend. We got David McNew in the house. Welcome to the extreme. We got Facebook user. Do me a favor. Go ahead and allow Ecamm to identify your name on the show so that I can see who I'm addressing to, or type your name at the end of your question so that I can address you properly. But welcome to the show. Everyone, welcome. As you guys are coming in, appreciate each and every one of you. I have a great guest. We're going to talk football for about an hour. I know there's a lot of crazy things going on right now in the world. Some of you may know, some of you may not. So we're going to try to kind of get away from that for a bit and just talk 49er football, second days of OTAs. We're going to talk a little bit of Trey Lance. We're going to talk a little bit about our defense, offense, and kind of get a feel of which direction our San Francisco 49ers are going in 2022 season. But without any further ado, let me go ahead and bring my guest, my brother from another mother, Aruna. How you doing, sir? Welcome to the show, my friend.
Thank you for the invitation. I'm doing well. So yes, it's a sad day. The news that we heard just hours ago, but hanging on.
That's all we can do. So before we get started, so we're going to go ahead and just give a moment of silence for all the children. For those that haven't heard, the children that had lost their lives in a senseless act of just violence, and all the families affected. So if we can all just give a moment of silence for all those that we lost today. Our prayers to all the families that are going through what they're going through today. So this show is not to take away from that. But it's kind of to hopefully can take our minds off of it for an hour, um, and talk a bit of football on this, horrific day that unfortunately just no matter which way you spin it, me and Aruna were talking about it before the show. No matter how you spin it, it's just a senseless act of violence, and it's not getting any better. But we are going to move on for at least an hour, and we are going to talk football. So Aruna, as hard as it is, brother, we're going to try to push through. How are you doing today, football wise, and are you looking forward for a 2022 season?
So I believe today, especially the press conference after the OTAs, something interesting. Shanahan casually said that 49ers are trying to trade away Jimmy Garoppolo, but it will all depends on how the recovery from the surgery, so on and so forth. But and as well as the way Trey Lance spoke to the media, it gave assurance that okay, he is becoming the leader that we want him to be. At the same time, during the after the 2021 season, 49ers did not allow Trey Lance to talk to the media. He was just behind the scenes working in Southern California. But now it seems like today he came out after Kyle Shanahan. Seems like, okay, he is going to be the week one starter. 49ers are banking on him, having that faith. Okay, this is our guy. So it's a good sign that that's what I took from the major takeaway from the OTAs. Other than that, we saw some of these clips, posted by Grant, Jack Hammer, and everyone, that his throwing mechanisms, he has worked hard. There are some, I would say, uh, minor technical aspects of his throwing mechanics has been, I would say, not corrected but optimized. So looking forward for this season in terms of the roster and the players that roster that we have with the coaches and everyone. I believe it's going to be a good season. It would be hard, but it's going to be a good season in terms of where we want to go eventually.
Yes, exactly. And with the whole situation with Trey Lance, it's gonna be practices. He's showing that he's developing properly, that he's working on his mechanics. But at the end of the day, we're gonna have to see him get reps in real life games. And I think that Trey Lance, the more games he plays, the better he'll get. I mean, if there's any indication, last year when he played against Arizona for his first game and what he did against the Texans, specifically in the second half, you were able to see improvement on his side. So I can tell that the more reps he takes, the more comfortable he feels, the better he'll get. I like his upside. I like what this kid offers. I like his arm. I like everything about him, but he is raw. He is very raw, and he hasn't thrown a lot. So there are going to be bumps on the road this year. Anybody that expects Trey Lance to be a Drew Brees or a Peyton Manning, Tom Brady year one, you got to lower your expectations. Understand that the bar left by Jimmy is not that high. If he can just come in, play like Jimmy, minus the interceptions, and allow the cast around him, which is the running backs, the receivers, the defense, and special teams, to help him, he will be fine. I think out of all the quarterbacks that are coming back this year, that were drafted with Trey's in the better situation because of the roster that he has around him. Don't you think?
Yes, definitely. Uh, Especially given the fact that 49ers are hopeful Debo Samuels will be back. Now, Shanahan talked about that today as well, because he said we can go back to where we were with Debo Samuel. So if we can get that done, if we can make sure that Debo stays within 49ers, then Trey Lance has all the help that he needs, and especially not just the players. If you think about D'Amico Ryans, now he's on his year two. We saw week 3 2021 where he made some blunders during that last 2 minutes, last 37 seconds against Green Bay that lost the game. But I mean, as the season progressed, he improved as a defensive play caller. The defensive unit started playing pretty well. They were the ones that kept 49ers in the 2021 season up until the playoffs, because last year 49 offense finished overall 15th while defense finished 5th overall. So it's a huge gap, basically 5th overall versus 15th overall. Basically the defense was the one that kept us in the game most of the time. So having everything with the coaches and these new players additions, and might be the experience that Trey Lance is having. Now he has the assurance, most probably, that he is going to start. And one thing I took notice is that he talked about his finger injury last year. Now, last year, there weren't too many details coming out how severe his finger injury was, how difficult it was to grip the ball and everything. But today he talked, for the first time, he talked freely about it, how difficult it was, the grip, how it might have uh, affected his game. So, and he said he's 100% back. I mean, healthy, fully fit. I mean, physically, he's in a great situation, mentally as well. So, if Trey Lance is in that situation, we can hope for good things this year in terms of his progress.
Yes. And I expect big things from Trey Lance. I know that people are out there running their mouth about, you know, arm fitness and how good how bad he's gonna be. He's gonna be a bust. It's like it's really hard. I mean, I know these are just talking heads that are trying to get clicks for their podcast, but you don't know if this guy's going to be great or bad until you see him out there producing, and then you can get a better idea of what you're going to get. But the upside, Aruna, is just amazing. Listen. The Niners traded from their 12th spot to the 3rd spot. I say this, and I'll always say this. People are saying that the Niners are undecisive of whether Trey was the right pick or not. Should they get rid of Jimmy? Is Jimmy here because they're trying to, they're not sure about Trey. You do not move from 12 to 3 a month ahead of the draft. Scalp the available quarterbacks, which at that point was Mac Jones, Justin Fields, and Trey Lance. Ultimately picking Trey Lance and sit here today and say, oh, we don't know if he's the right guy. They knew exactly what they were getting when they chose him. And they gave up 3 number ones. Now, whether he produces in the NFL, it's a whole completely different story. But they knew what they were getting in the typical quarterback that they chose, which is Trey Lance. Kyle Shanahan can work with him. I think Kyle Shanahan is going to be able to utilize a lot of the things that Trey Lance has to offer. Just the idea that he can extend plays with his legs. And I want to get a conception right. I'm going to get this theory that Trey Lance is a running quarterback. He's not. I don't understand where he gets this. He's a running quarterback. He's a mobile quarterback that can, he's always running, but he's trying to throw the ball downfield. He doesn't see, people always say, wow, he reminds me a lot of Kaepernick. I disagree with that. Kaepernick was a quarterback that wanted to run all the time, especially when plays broke down. Trey Lance, for me, is a quarterback that he is moving with his feet, but he's always looking downfield to see a receiver open up and throw the ball down. I don't know what your thoughts are on this. And before we get to our questions that I have for you tonight, I want to ask you, the quarterback that reminds me a lot of Trey Lance or Trey Lance of is Steve McNair. How Steve McNair played. Now that I mentioned that to you, what are your thoughts? I'm pretty sure you watched Steve McNair play in his time. Do you see a resemblance between Trey and Steve, or do you think Trey is more like Kaepernick in your opinion?
So I haven't watched that much of Steve McNair even on tapes because I started to follow football very lately. So,
Okay.
but I mean, I have idea about Kaepernick. When it comes to Kaepernick versus Trey Lance, I think it's different because what I'm seeing from what I saw from Kaepernick is in terms of all the available tapes that he's, as you said, he's a different breed. He trusted his ability to bail out whenever there is a situation, the pocket collapses, and especially his mentality. It's like, okay, I'm going to do it by myself. I'm sometimes you can feel like he's not going to trust the process entirely. But here you have Trey Lance, who is basically a down to earth 21-year-old kid who is like, okay, just to even today there was a question asked about the leadership. He said, I'm not going to give any, fancy talks or anything. I'm just trying to be with the guys, be the good guy that they can be around me, so it will eventually come. So he just tries to be part of the system, part of the organization. He just wants to do what the organization expects him to do. Because if you think about it, there's one good thing I believe. I think he already had it, but maybe he might have picked from Jimmy, that he, even though people are doubting him, he never responded back. Even today, he said, yes, I understand people have different opinions, so and so forth, but respectfully, what I can say is that I'm not going to care about it. I'm going to only care about the opinions from the people that around me. So he's in a very good mental condition as well. So I think everything eventually uh, comes together when it comes to, especially for a quarterback. So I think that's a different, because you I mean, we have heard a lot of stories about how Colin Kaepernick, not just his quarterback play, but how his behavior in locker room, his relationships with other players. But Trey Lance is not that guy, so I think he's totally different guy. So as you said, if he can live up to his expectation, then he is going to have a long career in an NFL.
Yeah, I agree. And I think the trajectory is showing that he can be that quarterback, but only time will tell. And hopefully, like I said this on my show yesterday, I believe, or the day before. We want to win games. Ultimately, we want to make the playoffs. That's the goal. But as a fan myself, I just want to see film on Trey Lance week by week. I want to see the all 22, and I want to see how Trey performs against the Bears week 1. And I want to see if he makes any adjustments and changes to week 2 when he faces the Seahawks. And then from the Seahawks, I want to see what he does when he faces the Broncos and so on. And if I can see him making the right adjustments, correcting his mistakes and growing, then that's, for me, is promising. Even if we lose, let's say, as an example, let's say we lose to the Broncos, but the performance of Trey Lance from the Bears to the Broncos game was much better, and he's got it, and he's learned so much, then even though we lost, and I don't want to lose, I can still be happy with the performance of Trey Lance, knowing that the quarterback that we drafted is learning and getting better. I want to see an increase, not a decrease in his performance. Now, if we win the game on top of it, then I'll take it. But I just want to see the growth of Trey week in and week out by watching the all 22, not necessarily highlights. I'm not a big guy on highlights because highlights are misinforming. But when you watch the tape and you break it down, you have a better perspective how an individual is doing week in and week out. So if I can see Trey learning, getting better, adjusting to certain mistakes that he might have made week 1 to week 3, then that's promising to me. And I think that with Kyle Shanahan, they will be able to do that. So, moving on to a couple other questions that I have for you, my friend, is the first one is a very simple one, but I want you and I want the viewers to get to know you a little bit. Let me ask you, who introduced you to the 49ers, and how long have you been a 49er fan?
So I moved to US about 6 years ago. So basically, my office was in Mountain View, so I was staying in Sunnyvale, Santa Clara, surrounding areas. Initially, when I moved to you, I mean, I'm when it comes to sports, I'm crazy about sports. For example, my wife gets mad at me because I would remember some of these scores from the games that happened like 20 years ago, but I wouldn't remember something that she said yesterday. So that's me.
That's not good, but
So
I hear you.
yes. So back in Sri Lanka, I was following cricket. Cricket is basically our religion. So cricket, rugby, I played field hockey. So those are the three major sports that I do follow. When I came here, I was lost culturally and socially because I did not have any friends outside of my office colleagues. So I mean, I had a couple of neighbors that I talked to, but there wasn't anything that we could in terms of common topics, because it was about how is the weather, where are you from, okay, so and so forth. That's it. Now probably around end of 2018, uh, I started watching some of these games on YouTube highlights, so and so forth, but still, I mean, it didn't make any interest to me because even, I mean, 49ers were losing, so and so forth. Then in 2019, my wife started to decided, okay, that she needs to uh, further learn something to a better career. So I was basically alone on Sundays, so nothing to do. I had I think I had a YouTube video subscription because I just wanted to check it out. They had some kind of a deal, so I started, I mean, okay, there are games, so I started watching. The initially I didn't have any idea what's going on, because basically only thing I understand, okay, they're gonna score, then okay, it's 6 points, then you can kick through the post, it's another point, okay, it's 7 points, so on and so forth. I initially, when I started watching football, I didn't know that you get like 4 downs to go 10 yards. So then I understood it. I thought like, okay, it seems like a okay simple game that I can understand, but then I realized no, it's much complex than it seems to be. But I started enjoying it. So then since I was alone on Sundays, I started watching football on uh, Saturdays and Sundays both. Basically, I was watching college football as well as whatever the game that on TV. Why I become a 49er fan is basically I lived just 15 minutes away from Levi Stadium. So I just picked the team that was in the town. That's it. Maybe if I was in, let's say, Seattle, I probably would have been a Seahawks fan, but luckily I
Yes,
landed in
yes, yes.
Santa Clara, so I started being a 49er fan. And in terms of football, initially I didn't understand some of these words. Even, for example, they talk about jet sweep. I'm like, what the hell is jet sweep? Then I Google search and okay, understand. Oh, this is what they call jet sweep. What is A cap? What is B cap? So and it kept I mean, it was intriguing because there was so much to learn. And then I realized this game is so interesting, so much strategy. And I started reading about it. I started watching, oh, I mean, former players. Steve Young, read his book. Joe Montana, I read Brett Favre's book. And I think then I became addicted to football. So that's my story about how I became addicted to football as well as a 49er fan.
Wow, that's awesome. Let me real quick. Let me just welcome real quick, Scotty to the channel, and Benjamin. Welcome, welcome. And I've been reading the comments as you were talking, my friend. And let's just everyone. I'm not saying that anyone is being disrespectful, but let's keep it respectful within the channel. Please, this is a family podcast. If you're not being disrespectful, then you're fine. If you are, please just keep it respectful, as we are all family here tonight. Welcome, platform 246, my friend. How you doing? Tech Village. This guy's name, I love it. His name is Tech Village Idiot. Um, it's it's a crazy name, but how you doing, my friend? Welcome. But yeah, so 6 years. Now I've been married for 26 years myself. The fact that you remember football 20 years, and what your wife said yesterday, you got to work on that, my friend, because you can get in trouble. I try to keep it balanced.
Yes.
I try to keep what my wife said and what football kind of balanced, because I got to a point at 1.2 that I can remember quotes. Excuse me. I can remember. Excuse me. I don't know what happened there. I can remember quotes. I can remember plays. And my wife said, "Did you do this? Did you do that?" Oh my goodness, I forgot. My wife would get upset. So I'm with your wife. You gotta balance it out there, my friend. But I think you're the type of person that would do that. So
Yeah, thank you.
no worries. So let me go into our next question for you. If I don't die here on the screen first, I don't know what happened. So let me ask you, who is your favorite player, 49er player of all time?
So, I mean, I have, as I said, I haven't watched many 49er football. Like I started in 2018, but after I read Steve Young's book, he became my favorite 49er player all time. Because the reason is he, I mean, such a nice guy. Even now, he says all the nice things. I mean, he's a very likable person. His character, he has a very charismatic character, great person. But out of all, what why I admire him is that he battled it out with Joe Montana. I mean, if not, I mean, we can argue whether if Joe Montana is the greatest quarterback of all time or Tom Brady. Uh, Still, I mean, let's forget Tom Brady for a moment. He fought against Joe Montana, the greatest quarterback to play the game at that time, for a starting position. I mean, Steve Young was eighth string quarterback when he started at BYU. Then, I mean, within 2 years, he became the starting quarterback at BYU. So he went through the same thing in NFL. I mean, initially, he was in XFL, got beaten. So, I mean, physically beaten, but still, he never gave up and eventually winning that Super Bowl, beating Dallas Cowboys in that NFC Championship game, reading everything. It's like watching a movie, getting to know that person's career, what he achieved. So Steve Young is my favorite 49er, even though I did not have the chance to watch him while he was playing. Uh, I think he deserves that spot. So he's my favorite player
You know, it's
all
funny.
time.
It's funny that you mentioned Steve Young, and I get a lot of heat from Niner fans, and every Niner fan has their favorite player, and they love a certain player. But I'm a football junkie. I love football, and I keep it 100% real. I credit a player when it's credit is due, and I criticize when criticism is due as well. Never disrespectful, but you got to look at it from both points. You can't look at football and just, you know, what's the word people use? Be a homer for your team. You got to be honest. And a lot of people argue with me, or we come into conflict when I say, in my personal opinion, and I can always prove why I say what I say or explain. I think, and as much as I love Joe Montana, and I think Joe Montana did a lot for this team with Bill Walsh and making the West Coast offense work and winning 4 championships, and Steve Young, coming along just winning 1. But what makes a person is not how many Super Bowls you win. To me, that's a team effort. It's a team effort winning Super Bowls. It's what you do individually to make your team better. And so to me, if you ask me who's a better quarterback, Steve Young or Joe Montana, I always say Steve Young. And a lot of people are like, oh, no, it's Montana. I'm like, okay. I go, and I don't want to even argue about players outside of football, because when I say Dan Marino was a better quarterback than Joe Montana, people really get mad at me. Because, like, what kind of Niner fan are you? It's like, I love my team. I love my players. But if you look at football and I'll use Dan Marino as an example. If you see what Dan Marino, the talent that he had in Miami wasn't nowhere near the talent that the Niners had when Joe Montana time. And I'm not taking nothing away from Montana, but you take Montana out of that offense and you put Dan Marino. Can you imagine what Dan Marino would have done with this 49ers? And those are the things people got to look at. But when I talk about stuff like that, my friend, is people right away, you're not a Niner fan. You don't love Joe. I go, I love Joe Montana. I have autographed things, but I also look at other players that are either non-49ers, and I look at what they done, like Peyton Manning, arguably one heck of a quarterback. To me, if people might say, who's better, Tom Brady or Peyton Manning? I don't know if you agree with me or not, and it's okay if people disagree. I think Peyton Manning's way better than Tom Brady. Now, Tom Brady has more Super Bowls, and that within itself is an accomplishment. I'm not trying to take that away from Tom Brady. That's an accomplishment within itself. But if you look at individuality and what they've done for their team, I think myself, Peyton Manning is a better quarterback than Tom Brady. I don't know if you agree or disagree with that. I know that's another bit of a Niner topic, but do you see that? Or, a lot of teams, they can be a little bit of homer. And if you're a Niner, if you're a Niner player, you're the best. Even if you're not that good, you're the best. Are you like that? Or do you see it for the whole picture and you based on talent, not on whether they play for the Niners or not?
Usually I'm with you. I'm literally with your line of thinking. I even get on fights on Twitter, just arguing with people saying, look, I understand that you're a 49er fan, but we have to look at things in a rational way. We have to be logical about things, because I argue with people about certain players. I mean, there was argument about Franco recently, whether he should be in Hall of Fame or not. But what I'm saying to everyone is, okay, I understand, but do you think he has, like, a different discussion, but phenomenal career versus just, do you think that he deserves to be in that place because he played for 49ers? So I'm always in the same thinking process like you. Just I would be only, I would say, totally biased to my team when I'm watching the game, but outside the game, I'm just trying to be neutral and see things as it is.
Exactly. And you got to be objective. You have to be objective. You have to love the game for what it is. I can't stand the Cowboys. I don't like the Cowboys. Never liked the Cowboys because of all the rivalry between the Niners and the Cowboys. I can't stand. But you look at a player like Emmitt Smith as an individual running back. He was one good running back. You look at Troy Aikman, or you look at the offensive lineman they had back then. So even though I don't like the team, I'm not going to be blinded with hate for that team and say, well, I don't care. Emmitt Smith sucked. He's never been a good running back because, quote and unquote, I don't like the Cowboys. That's not really knowing football. That's more allowing my emotions to come through. I rather talk to someone. That's why I can talk to every fan base, Aruna, and have a great conversation. I can talk to Seahawks fans. I don't like the Seahawks, but I can talk to them because I'm objective. I'm open minded. I'll talk about Steve Largent. I'll talk about certain players on their team, and I'll listen to their point of view. And sometimes I learn so much when I listen to them from their perspective as a fan. I get to know a little bit about the team. And I'm a believer that you should know the enemy, right? You should know your enemy. You should know a lot about the Seahawks, the Rams, and the Cardinals by their fan base to get a knowledge of who we play twice a year, how they're doing, how are they getting better, how are they getting worse, instead of just going into the Rams group and saying, oh, the Rams suck, and always trying to, what's that word people like to use, smack talk or talking, trash talk, that's the word. I'm not a big trash talker. To me, that's not really knowing football. Anybody can sit there and tell you that this player sucks. If you tell me a player is no good, I want you to explain to me why your thought process is this player is not good. Or if this player is good, explain to me why you think he's good, and let's see if we can agree or disagree. But just the fact that I'm going to tell you your team sucks because I don't like it, I'm not like that. I love knowledge, Aruna. I love learning. I like learning about the Raiders, even though I don't like them. I like to learn about every team because as a man that loves football, the more I get to know about other teams, when my team plays them, I can have a better idea how my team's going to do based on their personnel. That's why when I do a lot of what's the word I'm looking for, predictions on all 32 teams, I can kind of have an idea when the Niners play the Broncos. Naturally, as a Niner fan, I want to say the Niners are going to win and we're going to blow the Broncos, right? We're going to beat them up. But, okay, are we really? They have Russell. They have good receivers. They have a good offensive line, a good defense. I'm not saying that we're going to lose to them, but it doesn't mean necessarily we're going to beat them either. And I'm trying to keep open-minded. And I'm glad that you're the same way because that's the type of people that I can have conversations with is people that are open-minded. And it's sometimes the hardest people to talk to is my own 49er fan base. You know, like people will say, like, Roger Craig is better than Frank Gore. Was he really? Look at what Frank done. Look at what Roger, a lot of people tell me, well, Roger Craig should have been in the Hall of Fame. Okay, I think he should have been, but then I can understand why he's not in there yet. And a lot of people right away, they get mad. Wow, we won all these Super Bowls. Again, Super Bowls are a team effort. You got to look at the individuality of players. Now, I'm not saying that Roger Craig is not worth getting into the Hall of Fame. There's other running backs that are in there that I think Roger Craig did better. But I like to look at every player individually, break down what they did and what they didn't do, and have a discussion that way. What are your thoughts on that, my friend?
Yeah, absolutely. Because usually I trash talk during the game. I mean, during the game, it's just the entertainment. So I will trash talk but I go out fishing with a Seahawks fan. So we are very good friends, but we trash talk to each other, but with a limit. I mean, it's just
It's more of a
just
friend
back
type
and
of
forth,
thing. Yeah.
just a friend type of thing. Other than that, I would never cross the line because end of the day, it doesn't matter. I mean, whatever the person, they like a certain team and I like my team. That's totally fine. So we all can enjoy. Even this year, I'm planning to invite I have one of fathers from my kids' school. So I'm planning. He's a Broncos fan, big, huge Broncos fan. So I'm planning to invite him to watch the game, Sunday night football game, week 3 with me, so we can enjoy the game together. So that's it. That's the
Yeah.
way we should take the game.
Fun trash talk is okay too. Yeah, like, yeah, we're gonna sack Russell
Yes.
Wilson. Nick Bosa's gonna eat him alive, and that's just energy, like you said, energy for the
Yes.
game. Or if Bosa, let's say Bosa does sack Russell, yeah, in your face. All that's okay. That's different. But
Yes.
what I mean about trash talking is when I'm trying to have a conversation with someone, and all they can tell me is my team sucks, or
Yes.
my quarterback sucks. That's it. Okay, tell me
Yes.
why. They just suck. That's to me is like
Yeah.
I can't carry a conversation. It's like, tell me why you think my team sucks. Break it down for me, and we'll
Yes.
agree to disagree. But when you just sit there and all you want to do is trash talk, I can't really have conversations with people like that. My friend. It's just a waste of energy, and I move on. But let me go ahead and ask you my third question for you, my friend. Which of the 9 rookies that were taken in this year's draft are you most excited about?
I wouldn't say I'm excited about this year's draft class. I mean, because I thought 49ers would just sit back and waited just to get the whatever the players that are available at the moment, because they didn't make any moves, they didn't draft up. Because I initially thought that rather than drafting 9 players, they would draft up, maybe pick maximum 6 players, trying to move into that list. High in the board in the at least in the second round, but it didn't happen. Having said that, again, out of these players, Danny Gray is the one that I'm kind of excited about, because a wide receiver, I think, given what we have in San Francisco, given the quarterback that we have in San Francisco who can throw the deep ball, a head coach who can scheme up things that make people open. Uh, so it would be exciting, especially given the fact now we are still not sure how the things will pan out. We are still at the beginning of, I mean, literally just end of May. We have another 3 months. There can be things happening, because I'm just curious to see whether guys like Brandon Ayuk, how they will eventually come up, whether he is going to be a better player than the season before, and whether we are going to sort out things with Debo, Juan Jennings. So there are, I think, a lot of, in terms of wide receiver department, it's an open competition. I don't think, other than Debo decides that, okay, I'm going to be a 49er, continue to be a 49er. Um, uh, Other places are guaranteed that, okay, this is the number 2 receiver, this is the number 3 receiver. So he's a guy, I think, if he works hard, that can make the final roster. So I'm excited about him. But about other players, I just want to see how it eventually pan out, because the cornerbacks, late round cornerbacks, I'm not really excited about, because I really do believe if you need good corners, you have to draft them high. That's just my personal belief. Same goes with the offensive lineman. I believe uh, they need to be drafted high if you want some good offensive linemen. So Danny, yes, coming back to the original question, I would say Danny Gray.
Danny Gray. Yeah, I think I like his speed. The fact that he can open up, like the term people say is take the roof off a defense. Um, a lot of times last year, a lot of the defensive coordinators always stacked 8 in a box. They were not afraid of the deep ball from the Niners. They're like, we're gonna put 8, and you got to beat us with your run. And even then, we were still successful in the run game. Now that we have that deep threat with the shoulder and arm of Trey Lance and the speed of Ayuk and Gray, now we can keep defense, in my opinion, honest. And now they're not going to be able to stack 8 in the box, because if they do, you can get burned on that deep throw. So they're going to have to sit there and decide, what are we going to do on defense? How are we going to play this offense? And this is going to open up the run game even much better for Kyle Shanahan, to be able to exploit defenses' weaknesses week in and week out. And I always tell everybody, every game, every team is different based on what they're showing on defense, what Kyle does on offense. But I do like Danny Gray in addition to this offense. I'm a big fan of Juwan Jennings. He has a fight for sure now that we brought in Danny Gray. Juwan Jennings is going to have to show that he is the man. I like what I seen in him, his improvements, his third down abilities to make us get first down on third downs. I like that. But I need to see more of Juwan Jennings, and I think we're going to get that. The benefit with Juwan Jennings is that Kyle Shanahan, for some reason, doesn't like to start rookies. He's not a big fan of starting rookies. So I think they will implement to the offense. Now, if Danny Gray does so well that he blows the doors off a Kyle, then you'll see more of him. But I still see Juwan Jennings being that third receiver. It'll be Debo, Ayuk, and Juwan Jennings, and then they'll sprinkle in Danny Gray, unless Danny Gray just happens to outplay Juwan Jennings. And then you have these other two. I can't remember the second one, but one of the receivers that we brought in, Malik Turner, I believe is his name. And so he's brought in. Let's see what he does. So this offense is poised to be great under Lance. It's just now we have to figure out the offensive line. Do you think that Alex Mack will retire? The fact that he missed, I believe, today and yesterday OTAs, it might be a factor that he will retire? Or do you think he's just a veteran that he doesn't need these OTAs? He's just resting his body because when training camp starts, that's when he'll jump in. Do you think we should be worried about Alex Mack, in your opinion, or no?
I I don't think so because today Trent Williams was missing. I think Kyle Juszczyk, he was missing due to some personal commitments. There were multiple other players. I think only concern was Debo, but Shanahan said they can just get the things back to normal. So I'm not worried about Alex Mack. Probably he will come back later. I don't think he will be retiring because if he is to retire, he would have announced that decision by now. So I believe he will be back for another season. He might want to just give another try. Okay, we'll see if there is a chance we can get back to where we want to be. So I think he's probably going to be back.
Yeah, I agree. I think the fact that if he was leaning more to retirement, I think he would have mentioned it. Kind of like what where
Joe Staley did.
thank you, sir. Joe Staley kind of went a blank. How he did it. He right after the draft, even though the Niners already knew, obviously before the draft, but we didn't. And right after the draft, we seen the trade for Trent Williams. Still, and to this day, great trade. All pro left tackle for a third and a fifth. Love it. But Joe Staley announced his retirement immediately after the draft was over and we moved on. We haven't seen that from Alex Mack. I think he's just a veteran that has been here for 13 years. He's seen OTAs plenty. And I don't think I think if he misses mandatory minicamp, then it'll be a concern. But these OTAs that are going on right now, this organized training, I'm not too worried about it myself. No Border Sports, welcome to the show, my friend. Says if Mac doesn't really know yet, he should just retire. And again, I don't know if we as fan base, we're thinking that he's trying to decide whether he should or he should. I'm pretty sure him as a man, he already knows. If he was going to retire, he knew he was going to retire. If he's not going to retire, he knows. I just think he's not concerned about OTAs. It's something, he's a vet. He knows what he's doing. There's nothing he's going to learn. And people say, wow, but you got Trey Lance as a quarterback. You got to start gelling with him. Not necessarily, but I wouldn't put too much into the Alex Mack retire. I think he already knows one way or the other. I don't think he's sitting there like, should I retire? Shouldn't I retire? I think he knows. We don't know, so we speculate about what we think he's thinking. But as a man, I think he knows what he's going to do. I'm pretty sure, Aruna, if you were Alex Mack and you were in this position, I would think as a man you would know based on how you talk to your family, how you talk to the coaches. I think by now you will know whether you will retire or not. I don't think you will be undecisive, would you?
No, exactly. As I said, if he was to retire, we would have known by now. Okay, this is what I'm going to do. But it the all everything indicates to me. Even today, Shanahan. Somebody asked about Alex Mack. Shanahan spoke about it. I think all the indications give us the fact that he is going to return and he will play another year.
Yeah, I agree. And if that's the case, we have Trent Jones, and then I think I'm a big believer in Aaron Banks. I like what he did in college. A lot of people are concerned that because he didn't play last year, that oh my God, did the Niners make a mistake? And it's funny how I'm pretty sure this happens in every fan base. I'm pretty sure, but because I'm a Niner fan and I deal more with Niner fan base, I'm more familiar with them. But I get a kick on the emotional part of a lot of the fan bases. Like they really see everything through emotion. He didn't start last year. Oh my God, he's a bust. Not necessarily. You had Tomlinson on the left guard. You were not going to beat him out. They tried you at right guard. Just sometimes you just can't play both positions. Sometimes, and then he got hurt too. But sometimes, just because you're not good at the position that you're not really familiar with, doesn't mean you're not good. He's a natural left guard, and he also plays center. Uh, when the kid that went to the Colts was a guard there, he plays center a little bit, but he's a natural left guard. So I think he'll be able to move into that spot and be fine. And then Alex Max returns Aruna, and then the question mark for me is right guard and right tackle. Mike McClinchy's coming back, but what version of Mike McClinchy are we getting after his injury? Is he going to be able to play good still? Is that injury going to handicap him a little bit? And then are we going to use Daniel Brunskill again at that position? Or do you think that these young kids that we brought in, whether the ones that we drafted to the ones that we brought in via free agents, undrafted free agency, do you think some of those could push and challenge for those spots in the right guard and right tackle position?
I'm really skeptical about that because I think we have Jalen Moore as well.
Okay.
So from last year. But the thing is, if there's in one department or position that worries me, it's the offensive line. Yeah, especially when it comes to our pass protection. Yes, we are really good at run blocking, but when it comes to pass protection, still there is some struggles because we saw when during the playoffs when Trent Williams got injured, the Rams defense, they had a field day. They were basically at Jimmy Garoppolo's face all the time. So it was really difficult. But now this year we might have a chance. We should have a better opportunities because you have a mobile quarterback who can get out and make throws off the schedule. But still, uh, I am not sure who is going to step up until the training camps are done because again I'm not really sold on Aaron Banks yet as well, so I'm just skeptical to see because one I would have kept Lake and Tomlinson. I wouldn't but yes, he got a very good deal with Jets, so I would have liked if 49ers like traded for some of these offensive linemen, maybe through the draft or during the free agency, but nothing happened. So that's my worry. I'm not sure whether there are any players that I can name right now for me to say like, okay, this player will step up. This player will take the void that is created by X and X. So I'm just thinking it's based again an open battle. Someone will step up, but I'm not sure whether be they will provide the standard that we want them to be a good pass protection unit.
I agree. And the whole Tomlinson, first and foremost, I don't know if I would pay what the Jets gave him for a guard of his caliber. I mean, I like Tomlinson. He wasn't. He was steady, but he wasn't that. I don't think he was that type of guard to get that a type of money, in my opinion. Now, I think the Niners are a little bit confident in Aaron Banks because if they weren't, maybe they would have tried to work something out with Tomlinson. The fact that they let him go indicates that they're feeling comfortable what they have, what they have inside this organization right now. The young kids they have there, like you said, the other kid, what was his name? The you just mentioned the lineman. They were
Jalen Moore.
Jalen Moore. Yeah, they have Jalen Moore. So they have some depth there that they're comfortable with. I think if they weren't comfortable enough, I think they would have pursued Tomlinson, try to at least try to get him to stay. The fact that they just let him walk, it's a great indication that they feel that they have the replacement. That is now whether they do it, it's a whole different story. But they feel comfortable that they have the replacement in house, and they'll be able to take care of that and replace him. So we'll see what happens. But that offensive line definitely needs to gel. But the fact that we have Trey Lance that is able to move and extend plays with his legs. I mean, I don't know. People, I don't know if you watch a lot of the Texans game, but I broke it down quite a bit. And the more I watch it, the more I emphasize on Trey Lance, the more excited I get for Trey Lance. What I've seen him do. Yes, he made some mistakes. Yes, he held on to the ball longer than he should have, and the window closes. He needs to realize these receivers' windows close so much faster in the NFL than they do in college, and that's something he's going to need to learn. But there were moments where he set his foot, he threw the ball, and he was able to get the ball out right to the receiver to make a play. And I seen a lot of good in Trey to, at least as a fan, to be confident that we are definitely going in the right direction. And I think Trey will become that quarterback that we're going to enjoy watching years in and years out. We're finally going to give Seattle what Seattle gave us all these years with Russell Wilson. How many times did Russell Wilson, did Alden Smith or Justin Smith or Buckner or Bosa had him in his grasp? And all he does, like Houdini, he turns to his left, gets away just enough for Lockett or DK Metcalf to get open for a 25-yard first down reception. How many times did we see that with Russell? I'm hoping that Trey Lance can provide that for us as the Niners, where he can escape just enough to allow Brandon Ayuk or Debo to get open and throw the ball to them for a 15, 20, 25-yard reception. And I think we're going to get a lot of that this year. I think that Kyle's going to put him in great position to do so. He's going to use his strengths. And who is the quarterback's best friend? A running game, right? You have to have a great running game to complement your quarterback. We have a great running game. We have a great defense. And one of the areas that we were very weak in last year, in my opinion, and I want to get your thoughts on this, was the special teams. I think our special teams really, really struggled last year. I think we lost maybe like 3 games because of special teams performance. And they addressed that. They went ahead and let go of the, supposedly he got hired somewhere else, but they were going to fire Hightower anyway. They brought in a new special teams coordinator. They brought in a few pieces, top pieces to this position because they really wanted to make it better. I think this special teams, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's going to go from where it was 29 ranked to probably a top 5 special team. Now they got to put it together, but I think the people they brought in is going to make this team special. What are your thoughts on the special teams and everyone they brought in free agency?
Yeah. Now, special teams really worried me, not just last season before that, 2020, when we won just 6 games. If even when we had these all these injuries and everything, if special teams had at least, I would say, decent enough performances, we could have won another 2 to 3 games back in 2020. We could have made it to the playoffs because uh, even Cardinals just won 8 games that year. So last year, compared to 2020, last year the special teams performance were I would say a bit better, but still, as you said, there was some gaps to fill. We were just wondering about, for example, we did not have a proper either punt return or kick returner, and especially the game against Seahawks, the blunders that we did with punt returns, because I can't remember who was the player. I think who did drop the ball, recovered it, then again try to go another couple of yards, again fumble the football, and then Seahawks scored. I mean, Seahawks recovered the football, then they scored. I can't remember who the player was.
Um, was it? This was last year.
Yes, this was the last year
I
when we
was. I
lost the
think it was
game.
number 13. I'm trying to think of the receiver's name.
I can remember the play, but I can't remember the player's name. So that was so horrible.
But I
There
remember
were
that
like,
play. Yeah, it
yes,
was
so
number
there were
13. I
base.
just can't think of his name.
So there were like basic mistakes. So yes, I think they have addressed that. But now we have what called Ray McLeod. He's a special teams player. So we have addressed that. Most probably, if we can get it right, yes, I would say if they can at least be like uh, within top 10 in terms of special teams, at least top 15, we should be okay.
Yeah, it was Josh. Hey, Josh, how you doing? Welcome, by the way. It was Richie James Jr.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, he was
I forgot his
terrible.
name, but I remember that play. It was one of the most horrible performances.
Yeah, it was definitely true. How you doing, Javier Rios? Welcome to the stream. Welcome to the stream. So listen, um, they say that when you're having fun, time flies. And I've enjoyed myself this evening with you, Aruna. You are an amazing guest. You're very knowledgeable of the Niners and sports in general. It's always a pleasure talking football with you. But we have reached our hour limit, and I like to keep my podcast within an hour. Actually, we went a little bit over, so my apologies. But I like to keep it within that hour limit to be just fair to my guests and to my viewers. So before we call it a night, if you have a podcast, if you have anything in social media that people can follow you, can you let my viewers know where they can follow you and how they can get a hold of you if they just want to say hi?
Yeah, so I'm on Twitter. You can just follow me at Waruna. So that's my Twitter handle. Then we have a show called No Border Sports. So that's my buddy Ryan, who is just commented. So you can find out as No BS. So we just call No BS. So that's our show. We are doing shows here and there. So I'm just taking a break these days, but you can find me on Twitter. Usually, I'm active on Twitter, so you can. Some days I'm mad, some days I'm just talking everything. So that's there. There you can find me.
Great, great, and it's funny how you mentioned No Border Sports because I just joined them as well. I forgot the name of the group that we're starting, but I just joined them as well. Him and Aaron and also Bashar from 49er Minded, and so I joined them and looking forward on hanging out with them, getting to know them a little bit better. Especially my friend No Border Sports. Get to know him as well. So it was an honor, my friend. It was a pleasure having you, everyone. I just want to say thank you to everyone that came in tonight. There's a lot of you still here hanging with us for an hour. You guys are amazing. As you guys know, my podcast is more of a kind of kickback, put your feet up on the couch, drink your favorite beverage, and enjoy the show type of podcast. My birds, I don't know if you can hear my birds. They're starting to get a little bit excited because they know that I'm about to finish the show. Again, Aruna, thank you for being a great guest. Thank you for accepting my invitation. It was an honor to have you, my friend. I have nothing but respect for you. I love what you do, man. And I look forward to doing some more shows with you in the future.
Okay, thank you very much for your invite. I enjoyed this.
All right. You hang in there, bro. Don't go anywhere. I'm just going to say bye to everybody. Everyone that showed up, good night. God bless you. Remember, man, God loves you. Remain faithful, and keep praying for the families that were affected in today's shooting of these innocent children. This census act, and this is the world, unfortunately, that we're living in, with these guns and this thing. So pray for every child that was affected, their family members, for strength. So keep them in your prayers. Thank you for watching. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for spending an hour with us. Have a wonderful night. We'll see you on the next 49er Sickness podcast. Peace.